We're live from New Delhi, watching DT India Live, India's Voice to the World. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to meet Russian leadership in Moscow as President Donald Trump's deadline to impose fresh sanctions over Ukraine conflict looms. Israeli Prime Minister indicates a wider military action in Gaza for complete takeover in Security Cabinet meet. United Nations warns expanded operation risk catastrophic consequences. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate Kartavya Bhavan in New Delhi. The state-of-the-art complex will bring ministries and departments under one roof, equipped with modern infrastructure. Search and rescue operations continue as cloudburst devastates Harshil village of India's Uttarakhand. Over 130 people rescued so far, while several others reported missing, and the issues orange alert across many districts. And on to the details now. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is set to meet with Russian leadership in Moscow on Wednesday, ahead of President Donald Trump's deadline to impose fresh sanctions on Russia for its ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Trump has given Russia until Friday to halt its offensive or face new penalties. The move would aim to stifle Russian exports but would risk significant international disruption. Well, the visit comes after Trump said that 2 nuclear submarines he deployed following an online row with former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev were now in the region.
Clearly, the president's not happy with Mr. Putin and Russia, but he remains committed to diplomatic solutions. I would say that we've also seen a remark, perhaps a reflection of possible secondary sanctions regarding the sale of oil, people who are countries that are buying Russian oil. And that has been openly discussed by the president. But when it comes to things that are decided, we would wait for the president to say that.
Whereas Trump said on Tuesday that he would await the outcome of the Moscow talks before moving forward with any economic retaliation.
We'll see what happens over the next fairly short period of time, but we'll see what happens. You know, they have a meeting tomorrow. We have a meeting with Russia tomorrow. We're going to see what happens. We'll make that determination at that time.
Well, early on Tuesday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had a productive call with his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump. Both leaders discussed Russia-Ukraine conflict, sanctions on Russia, and the finalization of a U.S.-Ukraine drone deal. Taking to social media X, Zelensky said that President Trump is fully informed about Russian strikes on Kyiv and other cities and communities, referring to intensifying drone and missile attacks. And moving on to West Asia now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Tuesday that Tel Aviv must complete the defeat of Hamas in Gaza to secure the release of the remaining hostages. Netanyahu later on visited an army induction base in the Tel HaShomer neighborhood of Ramat Gan, where he met with armored corps and combat engineering corps recruits. Netanyahu met senior security officials to finalize a new strategy for the nearly 2-year war in the Gaza Strip. While cabinet meeting to discuss an updated war plan is scheduled for Thursday. Moreover, recent efforts to mediate a truce between Israel and Palestinian terrorist group Hamas, which governs Gaza, have collapsed. And the United Nations on Tuesday called reports about a possible decision to expand Israel's military operations throughout the Gaza Strip deeply alarming if true. UN Assistant Secretary General Miroslav Jenka told a UN Security Council meeting on the situation in Gaza that such a move would risk catastrophic consequences and could further endanger the lives of the remaining hostages in Gaza. China's deputy UN representative also expressed great concern and called for a ceasefire while urging countries with influence to take concrete steps to help bring one about. Three groups of 7 countries, France, Canada and Britain, have announced plans to recognize Palestinian statehood in September at the UN General Assembly. And the brother of Israeli hostage Evitar David told the Security Council to use the leverage to secure the immediate unconditional release of remaining hostages and to ensure humanitarian aid reaches them. David was shown appearing emaciated in a video released by Hamas last week. Showing the video of his brother, he said his brother is a living skeleton, barely the strength to move or speak, his voice barely recognizable.
The last video also exposed another horrifying truth. As my younger brother, a living skeleton, was forced to speak and dig his future grave, you can see the chubby and well-fed hand of Hamas terrorists enter into the frame. We must ensure that all hostages are being released immediately and unconditionally. We don't have more time. They don't have more time. And every minute counts.
Well, during a visit to Latvia, Israeli President Isaac Herzog called on the international community to present a unanimous tough position not to talk to Hamas until they release the hostages held in Gaza.
I call upon the international community from Riga for a change. How about presenting a unanimous tough position, including Europe, and saying to Hamas and its allies, we're not talking to you until you release the hostages.
Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump declined to say whether he supported or opposed a potential military takeover of Gaza by Israel.
Israel is going to help us with that in terms of distribution and also money. We also have the Arab states are going to help us with that in terms of the money and possibly distribution. So that's what I'm focused on. As far as the rest of it, I really can't say. That's going to be pretty much up to Israel.
Well, U.S. President Donald Trump will host Armenian and Azerbaijani leaders for peace talks at the White House on Friday, as per a U.S. official. A potential framework for a peace agreement may be announced. The talks followed decades of conflict over Nagorno-Karabakh and Azerbaijani region with a majority ethnic Armenian population that broke away in the 1980s with Armenia's support. Azerbaijan reclaimed it in 2023, displacing 100,000 ethnic Armenians. Despite a draft peace agreement in March, progress has been slow. The leaders last met in July in Abu Dhabi, aiming to resolve the long-standing regional dispute. And the third United Nations Conference on Landlocked Developing Countries began in Avaza, Turkmenistan on Tuesday. At the inaugural session of the 3-day conference, Secretary General Antonio Guterres stressed the need for increased access for LLDCs to global competitive markets. He called for joint efforts, coordination and the necessary support to overcome the challenges these countries face. Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli addressed the plenary session as the chair of the LDC group and in national capacity. He emphasized the structural challenges that continue to hinder the sustainable economic growth and development of LLDCs. He also called for strong global and regional commitment to translate the Avaza program of action into concrete outcomes. In the national capacity, he expressed Nepal's vision to transform from a landlocked country to a land-linked country through enhanced regional and international cooperation. The conference is important for LLDCs that face considerable challenges in international trade, connectivity and economic development due to a lack of direct access to the sea. Well, moving on, a unique recycling project in Comayagua, Honduras is turning waste cooking oil into high-protein dog food and eco-friendly pet soap. run by NGO Sustenta Honduras. The initiative collects the used oil from local vendors who once dumped it down drains and gives it a second life. The project supports the environment and creates jobs, hiring youth and community workers at its plant. Restaurant owners say selling used oil not only earns a bit of money but also helps prevent water pollution. With millions of tons of oil wasted across Latin America, this grassroots effort is proving sustainability starts small but matters big. Well, on August 6, 1945, Hiroshima was transformed in a blinding flash, and the city's destiny was forever rewritten by the world's first atomic bomb. Our next report brings you more.
Every brick, every voice, and every heartbeat changed in a moment. That act, unprecedented in its scale and suffering, remains, 80 years later, humanity's most haunting testament to the perils of scientific power when uncoupled from conscience. Hiroshima Day endures not as a date frozen in time, but as a living memory that shapes our world's sense of urgency and possibility. When America's atomic bomb little boy exploded over Hiroshima, tens of thousands vanished in a heartbeat. The city burned for days while families desperately searched for missing loved ones in landscapes rendered unrecognizable by fire and ash. By the end of that year, approximately 140,000 people had died. Those deaths did not come all at once. Some perished immediately, disintegrated, incinerated, or buried beneath rubble. Others died more slowly, struggling with extreme burns, internal injuries, radiation sickness, and even toxic black rain. Yet, Hiroshima's story has never remained fixed in suffering. In the wreckage of absolute devastation, the city chose not retaliation, but renewal. 8 decades later, 12-year-old Shun Sasaki is promoting a message of peace by educating tourists and locals about the dark history of the city through his lived experience of his great-grandmother who survived the atomic bomb.
The most dangerous thing is to forget what happened a long time ago. So I think we should pass the story to the next generation and then never forget it ever again.
Even as such first-hand accounts slip from living memory into history books, Hiroshima refuses to let the world forget. But with more than 12,500 nuclear warheads still existing around the globe across 9 nations, the risk today is no longer theoretical. Jessica Taneja for DD India.
And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Anti-terror operation in Akhal Forest enters the 6th day. 3 militants killed, civilians safely evacuated amid heavy firefight. The Reserve Bank of India will announce the next bi-monthly policy rate today. And Trump unveils aggressive 250% tariff plan on pharmaceuticals, semiconductors amid rising global trade tensions. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on. Nature unleashed its wrath in India's Uttarakash's Dharali, where a sudden cloudburst turned calm into chaos. In just minutes, homes vanished, lives were lost, and an entire village was swept away. Rescue operations are in full swing with the Army, NDRF and local teams racing against time. With more rain on the radar, the rally stands as a grim reminder of nature's unpredictable power and human resilience. DD India's Mihir Maikuri has more.
Dramatic visuals from Dharali in Uttarkashi, Uttarakhand capture the sheer fury of nature in destruction mode. In a matter of minutes, a deadly cloudburst turned this once peaceful region into a zone of destruction and despair. It was on Tuesday afternoon when the skies over Dharali near Harsal unleashed a violent cloudburst. Within moments, a massive surge of water and debris came rushing down the mountainside, engulfing every sign of human existence. An entire village is reported to have been wiped out, with scores of residents still missing.
हर्षिल के पास लगभग 3 किलोमीटर के आगे एक 7 ताल है और 7 ताल से निकलती है क्षीर गंगा। उसमें काफी तेज पानी का बहाव मलबे के साथ आया है और इसने धराली मार्केट जो हमारी है उसको बुरी तरह से प्रभावित किया है। अभी इसमें कोई संदेह नहीं कि प्रॉपर्टीज डैमेज हुई हैं।
Rescue and relief operations were launched immediately from local authorities to the Indian Army and to the National Disaster Response Force teams are working in a full-scale emergency response.
बहुत तेज गति से मलबा आया है पानी के साथ। हमारा प्रयास है कि इस समय में सभी को जल्दी से जल्दी राहत के काम किए जाएं, बचाव के कार्य किए जाएं। जिला प्रशासन के लोग वहां पहुंच रहे हैं, साथ में हमारी सेना के लोग, एनडीआरएफ, एसडीआरएफ, आपदा प्रबंधन विभाग लगातार कोशिश कर रहा है कि हमारी सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकता है कि सभी को इस समय राहत की जाए, सभी को बचाया जाए।
While many lives have been saved, tragically some could not be rescued in time. Taking to microblogging platform X, Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed deep condolences for those affected by the cloudburst in Dharali. He also spoke to Chief Minister Dhami, assuring that the centre is closely monitoring the situation and providing all possible support. Meanwhile, members of Parliament from Uttarakhand met Union Home Minister Amit Shah. The Home Minister also spoke with CM Dhami and posted an update on X stating that ITBP and NDRF teams have been rushed to the site and are actively involved in rescue efforts. With heavy rains continuing across the region, the Meteorological Department has issued a high alert for the next 24 hours. While rescue efforts are in full swing, the situation remains critical, depending much on how weather conditions unfold in the coming hours. Mihir Maikuri for DD India.
And moving on, marking a major milestone in the government's commitment to the vision of modern, efficient and citizen-centric governance, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate Kartavya Bhavan at Kartavya in Delhi today. Kartavya Bhavan 03, which is being inaugurated, is part of the broader transformation of the Central Vista, the 3.2-kilometer stretch in New Delhi that houses the nation's most important buildings, including the Parliament House, Rashtrapati Bhavan and government offices. The Central Vista Development Master Plan is a transformative blueprint to elevate administrative efficiency by crafting purpose-driven, state-of-the-art office spaces for governance. It envisions creating modern, adaptable and eco-friendly infrastructure to support the dynamic needs of India's Parliament, the Executive and Vice President's enclaves, and an integrated Central Secretariat housing all ministries. The plan also revitalizes Kartavya Path as a people-centric civic space. Beyond streamlining governance, the initiative places a strong emphasis on environmental sustainability, encouraging the use of public transport, prioritizing pedestrian access, and expanding green cover across the redeveloped zones. These efforts aim to reduce carbon footprints while shaping a future-ready administrative core for the nation. And now let's take a look at the agenda of the day in both houses of Indian Parliament. India's Sports Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia will move the National Sports Governance Bill 2025 and the National Anti-Doping Amendment Bill 2025 in the lower house of the Parliament for consideration and passage. While the upper house will take up the Carriage of Goods by Sea Bill 2025 for further consideration and passage, the bill was moved by Ports, Shipping and Waterways Minister Sarbananda Sonowal on 23rd of last month. The minister will also move the Coastal Shipping Bill 2025 for consideration and passage in the floor of the House. Well, the anti-terror operation in the dense forest of Akhal entered its 6th consecutive day today. Overnight, heavy rains had temporarily affected the operation, but with clear weather this morning, operations resumed. So far, 3 terrorists have been killed, while 3 security personnel have sustained injuries. The injured personnel have been admitted to the Army Hospital in Srinagar for treatment. During heavy firefighting on Tuesday evening, the district administration, with assistance from Kulgam police, successfully evacuated heart patients, pregnant women and children who were trapped in the conflict zone. All evacuees were safely shifted to a local hospital for medical care. The local population expressed gratitude to the administration for its timely and life-saving response. And on to some business news now. The Reserve Bank of India will announce the next bi-monthly policy rate on Wednesday. The RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra headed rate-setting panel on Monday started the 3-day deliberations to decide the next bi-monthly monetary policy. Since February, the Reserve Bank has cut the benchmark repo rate by 100 basis points in 3 steps, bringing it to 5.5%. Wednesday's meeting takes place as retail inflation has cooled significantly, well below the 4% target, while global trade tensions and capital flow concerns have resurfaced due to U.S. tariffs. And U.S. President Donald Trump announced a potential to 50% tariffs on imported pharmaceuticals and new duties on semiconductors set to be unveiled soon, escalating global trade tensions. Starting on Thursday, tariffs will hit the EU, Taiwan and other following Brazilian product duties on Wednesday. Swiss officials are in Washington to negotiate exemptions as pharmaceuticals dominate their U.S. exports. The aggressive trade policy, including 50% steel and aluminium duties, aims to boost U.S. manufacturing but risks inflation and economic slowdown as weak employment data signals caution.
For Fed Governor, I'll be making that decision before the end of the week, and we'll either decide on one for permanence or the 4-month period, the term. There's a term of about a number of months. We have a couple of candidates. I mean, everybody wants it, okay? It's not a couple, but we've narrowed it to a couple of candidates. And we've also, we're looking at the Fed chair, and that's down to 4 people right now. Very good. Well, I can tell you because I've already said.
Well, time now for some sports news. England coach Brendan McCullum on Tuesday said that India observed a win in the 5th test at the Kia Oval. England missed out on a final series win over India since 2018, which was also the last time they triumphed in a 5-match series. They have yet to record a series win over India or Australia under McCullum and Ben Stokes' leadership. Reflecting on the series outcome, McCullum acknowledged it disappointed him, but was proud of the efforts put in by his players, some of whom were injured. He further termed the Anderson Tendulkar Trophy a great source of learning, stating he has pointed out certain areas of improvement for the side, which would be crucial for the next assignment when they travel to Australia in November for the Ashes. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.